The post that is linked here is referring to the trial of Daniel Rick. Daniel Rick was a Christ Alone Lutheran teacher, now former teacher, who, as of today's recording, I see that he is scheduled for a sentencing hearing on April 7th, 2026 at 11 a.m. Originally, there was supposed to be a trial held. However, on January 27th, 2026, there was a plea hearing in order for pre-sentence investigation. Underneath the additional text, we read, 2:44 p.m., Defendant Daniel H. Rick in court. Attorney John A. Birdsall in court for Daniel H. Rick. Attorney Benjamin Lindsay in court for State of Wisconsin. Matter set for final pretrial. Court receives and seals flash drive of forensic interviews. Court makes findings and finds forensic interviews admissible. Counsel previously e-filed plea questionnaire. Arguments on proceeding with change of plea. Court examines defendant, accepts change of plea to guilty on count 2, and finds defendant guilty. Count 1 dismissed and read in. Parties are free to argue at sentencing. Parties request PSI. Court orders PSI. Arguments on remand. Court orders defendant remanded until sentencing. Sentencing hearing scheduled for April 7th, 2026 at 11 a.m. Now, let's go back to that linked article. The linked article is about how the principal at the Thiensville school is being investigated for covering up Rick's abuse. Before I get into the link, I want to focus on a couple of comments. One user, Lucifina123, wrote, "He has definitely always looked old. I'm not sure his exact age, but I know in 2003 he still had kids in elementary school. I graduated with his second oldest in 2002. I find the timing of his retirement suspicious. I also find it interesting and suspicious that the other pastor there, Pastor Ebert, announced shortly before the story broke about Henning that he was taking an early retirement and moving to northern Wisconsin. I grew up in the Wells and I never knew any, quote, called workers, unquote, to take an early retirement. Some of the teachers are so old I remember being worried as a kid that they would die during class, lol. I don't think early retirement is recommended." User JJ Craker wrote, "Good," in bold. Relevant-Shop 8513 wrote, "Why are prosecutors targeting Wells and not other synods? Are the larger synods afforded greater political protection?" Tapping on the website link, we see it goes to gmtoday.com. And there's a request for supporting the website here. I was able to find the article through another news site. Thanks to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, I read, "Thiensville principal charged with failing to report child abuse." By Alec Johnson, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Posted originally January 6, 2026, 3:19 p.m. I begin reading. The principal of a private Lutheran school, side note, Wells Lutheran School, in Thiensville has been charged with failing to report child abuse. Christ Alone Lutheran School principal Michael Henning, 52, of Mequon, was charged January 2nd in Ozaukee County Circuit Court with one misdemeanor count of failing to report child abuse in connection to a case involving a former teacher at the school, according to a criminal complaint. Moving over to archive.org due to the sudden paywall request. I continue reading. In that case, former teacher Daniel Rick was charged in January 2025 with child sex crimes after reports of alleged inappropriate behavior with students. Rick is scheduled to go to trial in February, linked here, according to online court records. State law requires mandated reporters to report suspicions of child abuse to law enforcement or child protective services. If convicted, Henning could face up to a $1,000 fine, up to 6 months in prison, or both, according to the criminal complaint. He is scheduled to make his initial court appearance on January 20th, according to online court records. Attempts to reach Henning for comment were unsuccessful. In a January 3rd letter to parents, Christ Alone Lutheran Church pastor Pat Brown and Christ Alone Lutheran School Board Chairman Jeffrey Steinbrenner said Henning is on administrative leave until further notice. Quote, "Please be assured that our school remains focused on providing a safe and supportive learning environment for all students," end quote, they wrote. Quote, "We appreciate your understanding and support as we navigate this situation together," end quote. Section. Complaint alleges Henning failed to report inappropriate conduct of teacher. According to the criminal complaint against Henning, a parent complained to Henning several times in December 2023 and January 2024 that Rick had inappropriate physical contact with her child, including having the then 9-year-old sit on his lap. In November 2024, other parents also complained about Rick's alleged behavior, but took those complaints to the parish administrator and church pastors because Henning had not addressed the earlier allegations. That same month, Rick admitted his conduct in meetings with church leadership. When police interviewed Henning on December 1st, 2025, Henning said he had spoken to Rick in January 2024. To his knowledge, the lap sitting stopped after that conversation, he told investigators. He admitted that he did not follow up with the parents of one of the children. Henning also characterized Rick's behavior as, quote, "dumb mistakes," end quote. Henning said he told church leadership about the concerns from the mother of one of the children, but also said that even after learning about additional information after an internal church investigation, he would not report the allegations to law enforcement or the Department of Human Services, the complaint said. It did not specify why Henning would decline to make the report, despite the fact that he was a mandated reporter. Here ends the article. In italics at the bottom, we read, Claudia Levens contributed to this report. Contact Alec Johnson at 262-875-9469 or alec.johnson@jrn.com. Follow him on X, formerly known as Twitter, at AlecJohnson12. I don't think anyone listening to this is shocked at the notion of a principal covering up these allegations or not reporting them. Whether they see it as you can't touch God's anointed or dumb mistakes, like this guy allegedly said in this article, or some other reason, the Wells is showing it consistently puts called workers, especially male called workers, over the women and children that attend their churches and schools. Thank you for watching/listening, and I will see you in the next video.